Hey, me, Callie Carroll. Good morning, sunshine.
Morning, sunshine. Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning, sunshine's daily dose of perspective. Good morning, sweet baby sunshines.
Good morning, sunshines. Let's get started.
Good morning, sunshines. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been annoyed by a sound? Like you're like, that drives me crazy. Like, I just can't stand when my husband does this, or my wife does this, or my child does this, or my friend does this, or when you sniffle, Callie, it drives me freaking batshit crazy. Has that ever occurred for you guys? Oh, as you jump on, you guys, my name's Callie Carroll. We're talking about misophonia today. Make sure you comment "Good morning, sunshine" wherever you're at, and share something you're grateful for, because it starts you off in a really positive attitude for the day, and then I'll just squelch it with a talk about misophonia. Just kidding. It's not gonna be that bad. Anyhow, okay, so now let me ask you another question. Have you ever listened to a sound, heard a sound that made you feel physical pain? Literally made you like have a reaction where you felt like someone was slapping you in the face, or taking a stick and ramming it into your ribs, or grabbing a rubber band and pulling it back on your neck and just letting it go and zapping you. Has that occurred for you? If the first has occurred for you, it's a normal response. There are a lot of different responses to sounds depending on our person, right? But that's a normal response to a highly alert sound. For a lot of us, that could be like a screeching sound of a woman, or like a shrill, like that thriller, like scream. It could be a very loud crying baby. It could be nails on a chalkboard. It could be rubbing a balloon, like something that's like this, like loud, obnoxious, like, ugh, you're normal. High five, you're normal. Okay. Now on the other side of it, misophonia, which means a hate of sounds. It's not really a hate of sound. It's like this combination of a hate and a sensitization to them, where your brain actually chemically changes of how you react to the trigger of a certain sound. Usually, if you have misophonia, it's a reaction to a small sound, a soft sound, a light sound, something like chewing or breathing or sipping, something that's a regular occurrence in your family dynamic or the people that you're around, where for other people they don't even hear it, but for a individual with misophonia, they actually have this guttural reaction. And when that occurs for them, they feel physical pain first. Secondly, there's like this internal desire, this reaction. Like, have you ever had a reaction to someone or something that you're not very proud of? Like, your kid bit you and you're just like, "Wha!" Like, right? Like, where you're just like, you have this reaction where like that's probably not appropriate. Or I don't know what's happening. Okay, hopefully that wasn't for long. Where they will like want to either yell profanities at you, the worst things they can possibly say, or like there's a desire to maybe punch you in the face. But they're not going to do it. They're not going to react. Most people don't. I mean, some people have with misophonia before in the past, but like they're not going to react on it. But like that's what their guttural instinct is. So, so this is why I know all about misophonia, you guys. And I just think this is a fun story. My daughter will appreciate this. During COVID, there were a lot of transitions for everybody, right? And I feel like there were some heightened changes within our family, because we were going from like high level athletes and practicing all the time to no practice. And now you have all this excess energy, and your friendship groups are changing, and you can't leave the house, and you're stuck at home with your freaking parents and your grandparents. And it's just like everything is turned upside down in your world, and you're already in this like kind of like depressed, highly alerted state. And then these little sounds start to bug you one at a time. Usually it starts with one person and one sound. It was probably me and like a chew, or me and a sniffle, is where it started between me and my daughter. And as that trigger started to change how she reacted in her brain, that it started to go from me to other people. And then it started going from just like a sniffle to other sounds. So it started to grow upon itself. So one morning during the time, Kinsey and I would try to get out and like do some runs, to just get out of the house, right? So we were running to 7-Eleven. We would run up there. She would run extra and go her way. I'd go my way. We'd meet. I'd grab a coffee at the 7-Eleven and I'd walk back. So like literally you run to go grab a coffee. Yep. And then we would like walk back. This only happened a couple times because I'll tell you what happened. We're walking and this is just starting to develop. So she doesn't understand the triggers yet. She doesn't understand why she's like feeling pain. We don't even know what misophonia is. And she goes, and I'm going to about to like to take a sip, and I could tell like she would just be like she's, and she doesn't really know what's happening, but she knows she's really upset at the sounds that I'm making when I sip on my coffee. And I don't know about misophonia either. I don't know that my reaction to it should be like to be sensitive and supporting her. Instead, I feel like we're just in another tiff or whatever. So I go to take a sip and she's like, could you just please not? In my brain, I'm pregnant at the time. I'm like, I just want my effing decaf coffee while we walk home after this run. And so I'm highly alerted and she is. And I take my coffee and I just chuck it into the street. And now we're both pissed and we're crying and we're trying to figure it out. And it was this like moment where we realized we needed to figure something out. Like something's going on here more than just I'm kind of annoyed with my mom and I'm kind of annoyed that I don't get to have my coffee. There's more to this. And that's where we started to do the research and really discover this disease called misophonia, which I thought would be great to share with you guys because some of you might not understand why you're having these type of supersonic reactions to small sounds. And it just is very unpleasant. It can change relationships. It can change family dynamic. It can change a person. It can put them into a depressive state. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to be around anyone. They don't want to be at the dinner table. They don't want to be in the room with someone, like, because everything is making them feel this physical pain. So let's go back to that for a second, remembering that when you have misophonia, it's not just an annoyance to a sound. We all have that. We're all like, man, it bugs me when that person does that. And we're like, well, I think I do have misophonia because it bugs me a lot. It bugs me when my husband does this or my wife does this or like it is. It's super freaking obnoxious. Ask yourself this: do you feel like you're being stabbed when you hear the sound? That's going to be your key, that you understand that you're developing or you already have misophonia. Are you feeling an automatic physical response of great pain, like you're being slapped across the face? I kind of feel like maybe I got pinched. Okay, well, maybe on your way and you want to start doing something now, but it is that reaction of physical pain. So, what happens in a person with misophonia is like for us, our normal brain, we can hear a sound. Like now that you're aware of a sniffle, right? You can hear a sniffle sound and be like, that's kind of obnoxious, but I can work through this. It's like I'm just going to pay attention to something else. I'm going to focus elsewhere. You can use your brain in your reaction to that. For somebody who's further developed in the misophonic stages, their cerebrum, whatever, their brain is it's no longer in control at all. Instead, their reptile brain, as this guy Tom Dozier talks about, I'll talk about him in a second. Your reptile brain, your ANS, your automatic system, automatic whatever, your ANS is reacting to that. He calls that your lizard brain, in response with your emotional brain. So like your emotional responders and your ANS are triggering together. And the second you hear that sound, it's firing and you're feeling the physical pain. So your brain is bypassed, and all you do is hear sniffle, feel like I'm being slapped. Hear sniffle, feel like I'm being snapped with a rubber band. Hear sniffle, feel like somebody's punching me in the ribs with a stick. That's the sort of response, and it's involuntary. People don't do this to get attention. They're not doing it because they're trying to control a situation. They're not doing it to piss you off by any means. They cannot control it until they learn how to control it. They have to have support and help. Most people need to go through some sort of therapy, guiding, coaching in order to get through this, or it just gets worse throughout their lives. It could stay the same for a long time, then all of a sudden get worse. And it can go, like I said, from one sound to multiple sounds, from one person to multiple people. It can go from just auditory, even though it's misophonia, a hate of sounds. It can transfer into visuals. Like for us, if I'm holding a piece of gum in my hand, my daughter's already going to start to experience that pain because she's visualizing me starting to chew gum, and that's a no-go, right? If we're at a dinner table and she sees a fork in my hand, she's like, I'm out, gotta go. Like FaceTime over, which is no problem. We've learned how to cope with and move through different situations, but it's not just about coping when it comes to misophonia, because that can be very hindering on your life. All of a sudden you can't be around the same people, you don't want to be in the same space with them, you can't go to the movies because you don't want to hear the chewing of popcorn, you can't go to yoga because God forbid somebody else sniffle across the room or sneeze somewhere. And it can be very isolating for someone with misophonia. So a couple recommendations. Now I just want to express that in case you have somebody in your world who's having these reactions, and maybe you can show up to them differently. Like, right, you can show up to them differently instead of being like frustrated or hateful or whatever. You guys might have to change conditions. They might have to remove themselves from certain situations. You can't stop breathing, you can't stop sneezing, like, right, but it's like trying to figure out that dynamic and not being mad at that person. If you're the one with misophonia, you can't expect everybody else to change for you. You're the one who gets to remove yourself from the condition, and also you're the one with a huge responsibility of starting to retrain that automatic response within your brain, which can be done, which is the good news, right? I don't have the best resources for that, but I'm going to explain to you what I do know so far. The first thing is that when we were going through Witten's all of our children's hospital adventures with him, we were at the audiology area because of the tumor in his pituitary. It might be close to his ear, whatever. So we're at audiology, and they actually expressed to me that they have a misophonia department now. They have an actual program, maybe not everywhere, but here in Denver. So you can check for things like that through like our normal insurance. It wasn't supportive at all. It's like, yeah, so you got like, misophonia. It wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't supportive for us anyways. The other thing that we did is we found like a coach, a therapist, a guidance, I don't know what he's called. His name is Tom Dozier out of California. And we did FaceTimes with him where he helped like judge where her misophonic state was, and then gave us different practices for regulating her response system, her emotional responses. And we would do things like we would actually expose the trigger and try to create a joyful situation at the same time to try to rewire and retrain that lizard brain so that a sniffle maybe while I'm giving her a massage isn't like, if she experiences the trigger in her shoulders, is actually relaxing her and she could work her way through different sounds. The sooner you can catch it and you realize that it's a part of your world, the less that you have to train yourself out of. The longer that you wait, the more challenging that can be. And the final thing that I want to say is that it can be kind of like contagious, which sounds funny because it's not like you're catching any sort of germs, right? It's a what's happened is there's like a different connection in your synapses in your brain that's occurring. But once you know someone has something, and I've had to catch myself in this, you guys. Once I'm aware of a sound that I wasn't aware of before, I didn't hear the chewing before, I didn't notice the sniffling before, and then when you're around somebody who's triggered all the time and you see their reaction, you can react to their reaction, which then pretty soon you're reacting to the sound, and now you're starting to develop the same sort of condition. So making sure that you're being proactive if you're around someone in not allowing that connection to occur because you know that it could. Does that make sense? Working on the emotional regulation while you're in that situation. So like if you hear the sniffle, which is starting to become something, doing something different, like working towards a gratitude or paying attention to something else or removing your focus or doing a relaxation or a PMR exercise. So those are just a couple different things about misophonia. Hey, if you know somebody in your world or you are the somebody in your world, I hope this maybe supported you. And if you've like maybe noticed some things about a family, maybe it's worth like sharing to them, like maybe this is what you're experiencing. If you guys have questions, ask the questions. Not a professional, just experience this in our personal world, right? It's something that we're still working through, and it is what it is. You do your best, right? And I want to just acknowledge all of you guys for sticking with me this morning and remind you that perspective does reveal miracles. So hope you shared your gratitude on there, and I hope you don't have misophonia. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.
Thanks for joining, and don't forget to subscribe and, of course, share with your friends. Guys, that's how we impact more